Yeah. So I can just read straight off my script. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, cool. All right. Yeah. Go. Yeah. I have to cut that. Okay. Yeah. Hi, my name's Craig Waters. This is the VMware Tech Talks for VMworld Barcelona 2013. My Twitter account's CSWaters1. I'm a V-expert. I run the Melbourne VMware user group, and I'm also the host for the APAC Virtual Podcast and the vCatch-Up podcast as well. And I'm here today to talk about where should availability be architected. I've got a little bit of an agenda, just 6 items on there. What is the status quo with availability? What are the challenges? How has the hypervisor changed this? How has Flash changed this? And how did Google and Amazon do it? And where are we headed? So with that, I'll go straight into the first slide. So what is the status quo with availability? So pretty much today in enterprise IT, typically availability has been architected in the hardware. And what does this mean when we design architecture? Well, really it means that we have to look at redundant components, so things like power supplies, redundant NICs, redundant switches, redundant routers, redundant storage controllers, redundant hard disks, redundant cabling. So it's a big, it's a big list of items there that need to be considered when doing an infrastructure design. Yeah. So what are the challenges with this? Well, really, the first one there is pretty apparent: the solution complexity. So it makes it really difficult to design. Designing individual component availability means different failure scenarios have different dependencies, and that can impact the overall design of a solution. Also, there's the operational overhead. So, really basically saying difficult to maintain. So that really affects how the design's maintained and its ability to change and grow over a longer term. This can impact things like when we look at design renewals after, like hardware, software renewals, and the impact of actually going to have to go out and redesign solutions based upon those infrastructure changes. How's the hypervisor changed this? Well, we've seen the beginnings now of software-based availability, specifically around things like VMware HA. Hardware component failure and how that's impacting availability is reduced. So, server administrators have seen, a big change in how they actually manage and maintain availability in their environment. I've actually seen cases where HA, typically you're talking about service resuming automatically, although there is some impact for those VMs restarting on different nodes. But I've also seen some cases where, because of the way the application's been architected, that this actually can be transparent to the organization for good or for bad. Example being that an application server's restarted, and because that VM is no longer tied to the underlying hardware, they can actually restart very quickly in a short space of time, to the point of where the consumers of that application are actually aware. The other side of it then is also this abstraction of infrastructure into software. So really the concept being is that abstracting really means about better utilization of the hardware resources. So we're talking workload density, those sort of things. But it also introduces the ability to automate tasks at scale, which I think is a really important piece, and especially around how admins today, are expected to manage much more with much less. Economies of scale, really, I think. So another point of focus there really is, as well as the how Flash has changed this as well. So performance is no longer the bottleneck. Flash can provide high ops at a reasonable cost now. I'd even say a low cost now. Really, then it becomes it shows that latency is the new bottleneck. So we've been designing storage fabrics. That design really needs to change as far as the distance that the traffic has to traverse, and ultimately that distance and that latency now has become the new performance bottleneck for storage. And I've got a nice little quote there from Mr. Scott from Star Trek, saying you can't change the laws of physics, and that the idea being is that it takes an electron amount of time to pass through a piece of copper wire, and that's really not going to change regardless of what we do. Yeah. So how do Google and Amazon do availability? they have these concepts of things like shared nothing architecture, and that's really architecture that has no dependency on the underlying hardware it uses. Yeah, I often say it'd be great to be a server admin for a Google or Amazon. I mean, they don't care about hardware availability. Well, they have less concern about hardware availability. It really becomes then about a capacity planning exercise. So what workloads are available at a certain point in time, and do I have a capacity available to actually maintain the performance of that workload? You could have multiple server failures and have multiple points of failure at any one time, and it's probably going to have very little impact on how those workloads are being provided. Yeah. Where are we heading? I think this is an interesting question. So I'm not a prophet on technology, but I think data really is becoming the point of availability, and not necessarily the infrastructure or maybe even the application that data resides on. I'd like to quote like a YouTube analogy. So the idea that you get a video and that data is uploaded through a web interface, broken into small chunks, and then that's replicated and spread out across data centers in a global fashion. That concept being that at any time, like, one of those data centers can fail, or a server can fail, or a disk can fail, and it has no impact to how you actually access that YouTube information, to the point of being that, are you actually bothered where it resides? What impact does it have to you on where that information actually lives? I also believe as well that all applications are going to be designed this way. Enterprise IT services will be designed with availability in mind, and hardware will become more abstracted and commoditized. So the concept being that we're already living close to an application-centric world, but the changes will be around how infrastructure becomes less important. It's actually the application, the service that you're trying to deliver to an organization that becomes the critical component. So watch this space. It should be a very interesting time. Yeah. So thanks for that. I appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoyed this tech talk. And if you need to get in touch with me, CS Waters 1 on Twitter. Thanks very much. Thank you.